Today's episode sees us finishing the first ride here at Global Ventures. Combining an Omni-Mover ride system with some incredible show scenes, welcome to the wonders of the world. Hey everyone, it's M4J here, and welcome back to Global Ventures here on Planet Coaster 2. Global Ventures 2, Global Ventures 2024. I think 2024 is the name I've gone with. You think I'd know that by now with 3 episodes in. Technically we're 4 episodes in, but yeah. Anyway, welcome back to the Plaza of the Globe. This is the entrance to the park. You can see it's hitting closing time here because they're all starting to leave. What's their thoughts? Hungry, time to go home. Okay. Enough fun for one day. Getting tired. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I kind of like the whole we're going home thing, but yeah, the whole park empties just like that, which can be a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. Right, last time out then, we decorated the plaza here. We added the trees, we added the gardens, we built the gondola station over there. I had some feedback. People want to see the boats as part of the gondola station, so I think that's what we're going to end up doing. Hopefully it works height-wise and everything. We can get it onto the grid. So I think the boat dock would sit here. The exit path would come out this way and probably join up with this one, to be honest. And then the entrance would go this side and connect up over there. I think that'll work well. If not, we'll do the opposite. Either works for me. We also built this, which is the Wonders of the World ride. It's the first dark ride. It's the first proper ride, actually, of the park. And it's also the subject of today's video. Hopefully, by the end of today's video, I'm aiming to get this out on a Friday. If you're watching this on a day that isn't a Friday and the video's just gone out, then clearly I failed on that objective. But I'm aiming to get it out on the Friday, which gives me 6 days, I think 5 days, to get this finished. It's doable. I think if I get started and get going quick, we can get it done. Now, the first thing I need to do, still, is redo this track. Now, I said last time what my plans were to do with it. I think I'm going to stick with that plan, which was basically to change, what was it? Take that kink out there, get this curving round to underneath here, then get the new up here, so it's right behind this, and then have a new crescent shape over here. That's the plan. I also did a really bad job of explaining this ride last time out, because there's probably some very, very good questions that people have, like, why does it keep going up and down? So, I mentioned over here that these are transition scenes. The idea being that you're being teleported or transported to the next wonder of the world. I think there's speakers in the seats and stuff as well, which plays into that illusion. You know, eventually when we can have custom sounds in the game, we'll be able to do like a narration for this ride. Possibly. Something along those lines. Anyway, so it gives you the illusion that you're accelerating, basically. So the seat tips back 12 degrees, and the track itself goes up an incline of 12 degrees. So there's a 24-degree tilt here, which pushes you back into your seat and creates that illusion. If you're ever on a motion simulator, something like Star Tours, and it gets to a bit where the vehicle you're in is accelerating, in inverted commas, and you feel you're getting shoved back into your seat, that's why, because you're actually being tipped backwards at quite a rate, and you're technically falling back into the seat. So that's what these are. Now, obviously, these take the track up to a higher elevation. So this section here, which is the first room, the Lighthouse of Alexandria, as we all know, the idea of this one is you're getting a panoramic view of the lighthouse. So you're actually coming down and around it, and in doing so, you're circling down. So you get to see it from the highest point here, and then you go round, getting lower and lower and lower, and then by the time you reach the bottom here, you've basically completed, in this case, a full 180. So you get to see it from basically all heights and all angles is the idea. And that then brings the track down to a nice height, so that when it goes into the next transition sequence here, you're climbing back up to almost the same height, but not quite. So you're still getting that illusion of acceleration, but the track itself is staying relatively low to the ground. The highest point, I believe, is this one, where you actually climb up and over the track here, which is fine. That was part of the plan. Originally, actually, it wasn't part of the plan at all. the track originally went this way around, and I changed it to make it go the other way around to give that nice little crossover. I'm actually very tempted to do something similar with this next show scene, but there's just not enough room. It's one of these problems. So I dug out all this area a while ago, and I thought to myself, you're never going to fill all that with one dark ride. That's ridiculous. And then I did. So we're going to have to try and make it work still. Like I said, it should be very easily doable. If I just straighten this section here, bring the track down and round like we said before, then have it climb up here, and then do the crescent, and it should still end up lining up with this pretty well, even if we have to straighten this one out a little bit too. I just didn't like the fact that this bit here, although it does work, this one goes up and around. I mean, technically the ride does work in the state that it's in now. It's just this gap here is a little too big for my liking, but we could use that for an emergency walkway. So, actually, it kind of works. Okay, so I think I've waffled on for a little bit here. Some people like me waffling, some people don't. I'm more in the latter category these days, but, you know, I don't really watch these videos the same way that you guys do, so if you enjoy it, then that's what matters. What my plan for this right now is, I need to start building the actual show building for this whole ride. So before we put down any show scenes, we need to know how much space we've got. So the first plan is, am I going to change the track here? I'm going to go and decide that in just a minute. And if I do, how am I going to do it? Actually, already looking at it, I think I've got an idea for how I'm going to do it. And actually, that might be what I said last time, was to straighten this up and then bring it round like that. That might have been what it was. And then that goes up a little more. So this bit here doesn't even change at all. It's just this bit here that changes. That makes more sense. That makes a lot more sense. And actually that then shrinks the size of the building down a little bit as well. It was also the fact here, this wall, it would come down like this, along here, and then it would have to kind of dip in like that and then out again, which some dark ride show buildings do, but it wasn't the most realistic looking. So actually having it curve kind of like that means it would just jut in and then along and then up, which would work a lot better, in my opinion. So I think that's my first thing. Change the track, build the shell of the show building so I know how much space I've got, and then maybe even break it up into its separate rooms. So go in and take what I've done here with the transition tunnel, walls either side, and put that on all of them, even if that means building separate buildings to get it to work. They are basically all the same height-ish. This one's quite a lot taller than the others, saying that, although this one I think is 1, 2, 3, 4 slope pieces. 2, 3, 4, 5 slope pieces. Damn it, I was about to say that's basically the same. It'll work, it's fine. The tricky ones will be the curved ones, so this one will be a bit of a trick. The really tricky one is going to be this one, although because these are 90-degree curves, it might actually end up working out still. One more thing before we start as well. I moaned last time about ride vehicles here, the fact that it doesn't form a continuous loop. Apparently there's a limit of 99 vehicles on an Omnimover ride, which I wish I knew before I started building this, because I was toying, I can't remember if I did this on camera or not, but I was toying with making this either this type of ride or this type of ride, and I went with the Omnimover mainly because it's new to the game. Planet Coaster didn't have one of these, Planet Coaster 2 does, and also because this I think would work better for the old jailhouse ride over in the Legend of the Frontier. So I decided to go with the Omnimover, and so far I've been shafted. But Frontier are very good, and I'm going to say this very loudly and very clearly because I know there's a lot of people out there who don't like Frontier right now. Whether that's for justifiable reasons or not is irrelevant right now. Frontier are very, very good at listening to feedback and implementing it. I personally am a massive fan of Frontier. I have been since Rollercoaster Tycoon 3, Thrillville, Planet Coaster, and all the F1 Manager games. Oh, and Planet Zoo. I always forget Planet Zoo for some reason when I talk about this. Planet Zoo is an incredibly good game too, and it has a very, very good fan base, which Planet Coaster used to have before they all turned into negative Nellies. I feel like this has been downgraded as a launch thing. It sounds like this used to be a continuous thing, and it actually got changed before launch. And apparently there was actually a conveyor belt that used to run down the middle here as well. And I thought I saw that on a stream, And apparently content creators mentioned it too, having seen it in a preview event that they attended. I never attended a Planet Coaster preview event, but I attended an F1 Manager preview event this year, so I actually know what they're like. That was for the old day job, by the way, in case anyone's interested. So, stuff you see in previews isn't always what you're going to see in the final game. I understand that. That's perfectly fine. But the fact that it was there and got taken out suggests that one day it could be added back in, which is what makes me excited. So this ride may get several upgrades in the future, very few of which will be because of me, I imagine. It'll all because of Frontier. It'll all be because of Frontier and their excellence. So I'm not criticizing Frontier. I might criticize aspects of the game every now and then. But like I said last time, I know it's not as easy as tick a box that says return Omnimover to original state. You know, there's going to be a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes to make that happen. So anything that we get, I'll be happy with. Even if it stays like this, I'll be quite happy, because to have 98 or 99 vehicles going around, that means we have 198 people on this ride at any one time. Now, to put that in context, this train here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. 24 times 8 is 192 people on board this 8-carriage train. There will be 6 more people at all times on this ride than there will be on this train, which is quite impressive when you say it like that. Now, obviously, if this was one complete vehicle, we could be talking about 300-400 people on the ride at once, which would be very, very nice. Frontier, if you are watching and you can make that happen one day, please do. I'll be very, very happy. Anyway, yes, sorry, rambles. I'm going to go away then and build this. I think I might actually stick to the plan here, straighten this out, redo this, get it to come back up here, curve around this way, and then form the crescent down here as well. We might end up with a slightly weird shaped show building, but at least then we can have certain aspects of the ride connect up to other certain aspects of the ride. For example, here, where these two cross over, there'll be a wall between them, sure, but you can have an emergency door that goes between the two. I'm saying that this isn't actually the right height, but if it was, we would have had an emergency walkway between the two, and it would be all done for evacuations and stuff, because that's something I want to focus on in this park as well. Not just making rides and making them look nice, but actually having evacuation routes that people can use to get in and out of the ride. I'm almost so tempted to build a little staircase here that goes down and have another exit door over here. We'll see. Alrighty then, let's go build a show building. So many hours later, let's do a quick sit rep. This is by no means finished. There are still a lot of things that need adjusting, placing, replacing, rebuilding. The roof still needs sorting out. I think the railroad track is going to get realigned as well. And as you can see, we're just starting the test here of the Wonders of the World again, because I've done a lot of rebuilding for the track layout here too. Now, I can't actually remember what the original track layout looked like. Hopefully it's still fresh in your minds, because it now looks like this. Now, there is track in here, I promise. It is very windy and very, windy, basically. But we've got all the show scenes now sorted. All the track has been placed for the show scenes. Most of them have now been boxed in as well. But I think all of them have been boxed in, pretty much. They just need the walls finishing off. And the transition scenes, there's one here that is finished and there's one here that's finished. But I think all the others, actually this one's technically finished as well. We'll go over that in a second. But all the others still need boxing in completely. But let me talk you through the track layout again quickly. And then how this is going to function as a realistic dark ride. So coming off of this section here, we've got the Lighthouse of Alexandria. That remains untouched. We then climb up again. And we've got the statue of Zeus at Olympia. Forgotten the names of them all. Let me just get up the list again. Statue of Zeus at Olympia. Yep, that is correct. Then we rise up in this section. Now, this is by far the busiest section of the ride. You can probably see that. Getting catwalks in here might be a bit of a task, but I feel like it is still very much possible with some realignment and things like that. And actually, as I'm looking at this, I've fixed one of the problems that I had, so that's good news. This is the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus. And as you can see, there is a railroad above. The railroad will look down into this scene. From the Mausoleum, We then go into this transition, which brings us up into the Temple of Artemis. And again, slightly big room. These rooms do overlap, but this here will still be show scene. I'm waiting for the vehicle to come around just to check clearances, but I believe that is all a-okay. And because you're looking down this way into the center of the room, you won't even notice the roof above you unless you happen to look basically straight up, which the likelihood of that is pretty slim. But even if people do, in real life, that happens anyway, and you can still see the ceilings and things. Like, again, small world, big inspiration for this ride. If you look up, you can see that you're in a warehouse. Sorry to take away the glitz and the glamour, but that is what it is. So from the temple here, you go up into this curved transition scene. And that brings you out into this room here, which used to be the Pyramids of Giza. It is now the Colossus of Rhodes. As you can see, we've got quite a lot of space here for the statue to sit, which is quite good. And actually the ceiling height here will be the same as what it will be in these two rooms, because the railroad would also look down into this scene. Did I mention it looked down into this scene? I think I did, but if I didn't, it looks down into this scene too. So the railroad alignment allows guests to look down into 3 separate show scenes of the ride here. Hopefully. There may be some other little jiggery pokery required to make it fully work. This track alignment here is very much not final. It may change a lot. We'll see. But yeah, from here, we then climb up again. Now, originally, this was on this side, and this was a much tighter curve. And as you can see, that wasn't very good. It wasn't much space. So now we go this side, and we climb up. It actually looked like we went past the railroad track then, but I promise you we stay underneath it at all times. And with the roof on the top here, that should be a good roof height. We then come into this room, which is actually, I think, the largest, which wasn't intentional, but that seems to be what's ended up happening here. This is the Pyramid of Giza, the Great Pyramid of Giza. And again, you can see just how much space that has been left to build this facade. It's going to be massive. I think the point of the pyramid is going to touch the ceiling, whatever height that is, and then it's going to come down as you'd expect in all 4 directions. So we'll see how that ends up working. Then we go into the most interesting transition sequence here. I spent so long, hours, really. The majority of the time building this new section was spent trying to work out how to do this final show scene. And I think I cracked it. I can't be bothered to change it again, so I'm just going to go out on a limb and say I've cracked it. We've got this spiral. There will be flashing lights and stuff in the middle. It's going to be very cool, slightly disorienting. Yes, we do get quite snug with the wall here. That's mainly because of the track on the other side. It is possible, maybe, to move the wall out a little bit. The reason I didn't do that is because this catwalk here is going to be one continuous one, even up this climb here. It's going to be on the same side, and that's probably going to carry on. In fact, yeah, it does. Through here and up this side as well. So, needed to make sure that that all fit. What I could do for this transition is have the buggies turn slightly so that they face inwards, so you couldn't even touch the wall here if you tried, because it would be behind you. Then when we get to the top, it's a sharp 90-degree turn, small tunnel, and then out into the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Now this will be, as I said, the climax of the ride. If you haven't looked up what the Hanging Gardens of Babylon look like, I strongly urge you to. They are magnificently beautiful, and it's going to be a hell of a task trying to recreate them. Originally, this ride was going to have a big spiral down here, and then it would go into a second Babylon show scene that looked out to the left. Obviously, I haven't stuck with that plan. I've kept it. We're just going to look onto one scene that's going to be a full facade, the whole length of this room. This section here is going to be water, and there'll be a waterfall that comes down into it. And then this section will just be a building with some gardens on it. And then we come backwards out of that final show scene. We rotate on the corner here, and we head back to the loading and unloading platform. We've also lost the full 360 here at the end, which I'm not too upset about, to be honest. It was a bit of a faff. And that's it. That's the new wonders of the world. Again, slightly annoying that the Omnimover isn't an Omnimover. Like, it's always moving, I suppose, so it technically is an Omnimover, but it's not what I wanted it to be. It's fine, whatever. Still need to build the wall along here. I'm going to rejig this one, which is the one I said I just solved the problem of. So I'm going to straighten this out and have it run alongside the track here. Have another wall here that connects up to this point. The catwalk here will be on the right hand side, and then possibly at the top here it will cross over to the left hand side. There will be a lot of crossover points. I will try and make them obvious on the track, because obviously in a dark ride you've got to make sure safety is paramount and all that. And no catwalk will be on the inside of any show scene. It will always be on the outside. So we've got to make sure that all works. The other thing I need to do, yeah, this whole area here. We ended up with a lot more space than I wanted in this area, which was another issue I had, was space usage. But I suppose if I straighten this out a little bit more and then build this down, that actually fixes that problem as well and leaves us more room for the pyramid. This area here, that's just going to have to be boneyard storage, I suppose. If a part goes wrong and they have to replace it, they just chuck it in this room here. It's possible somewhere, maybe here, there would be a series of doorways that lead you outside anyway, and there'd probably be a staff path, and this might even be evacuation stuff. So that's all good. We'll make it work. But yeah, hopefully this all makes sense. If I zoom out from here, you can see just how big this dark ride is now. Compare that to the map that was originally created. Let me get that up on my other screen. It kind of does what I wanted it to do. It wraps around the back of the toilet block and the food court and things like that. But yeah, this is a huge project. This is far bigger than I actually anticipated, and I kind of wish I hadn't done this as the first proper ride of the park. But it gives me a good opportunity to practice building for when we go into the next section of the park. So I think actually it's a happy little accident that's turned out okay. Alrighty, I'm going to go box in the rest of this stuff, and then we're going to start on the first show scene here. I might even try and get as many of these show scenes done, even if it's just basic foundation work and things like that. And then when we come back next time, we'll have more of a complete dark ride to explore. Update time, and boy, has quite a lot changed in this building. If you remember what it looked like at the end of the last part, I had to go back and rewatch it to remind myself what it looked like at the end of the last part, because that was 4 days ago, I think it was. Which sounds really extreme, and everyone's like, come on Mark, what's taking so long? I promise you I am going as fast as I can on this one, but I want to get it right, and I want to get it right as close to right as possible first time, and therefore, you know, it takes time. The entire ride now, I'm ignoring the big black thing that you can see in the background there, we'll come to that in a second. The entire ride now, from this scene here, when you first start the ride, all the way up to over here, when it slaloms down, has got custom catwalks. So if I show you, again ignoring the big black thing, my favourite bit is this spiral in here. This took me the best part of a day to achieve, but when I did it, wow, did it look good. Look at that. I am still going to extend the stairs out, because the middle section here is actually going to be the evacuation steps. The reason being is it lines up with, I think it's 5 scenes in a row where the evacuation is on the left hand side, so it makes sense to have the inside here be the evacuation, because the outside you're smushed up against the wall and it's not very safe. I'm going to pause the game for a second just while I show you all this. Also this hole here, I haven't filled it yet. There's a couple of others of those. If I just zoom out and show you the building as a whole, minus the big black thing, which we'll cover in a second, this is what it looks like now. So everything is boxed in, everything is sort of contained. And that does lead to some lovely moments like this, where it's all nice and tight and dark and lovely, and you can see the stairs above. Now obviously this will all be dark, or at least it'll be lit up in a controlled way once the ride is complete. So big empty bits like this, you probably won't even notice that they're there. Same with these support structures. I was debating turning off supports for the ride, and I might still do that. Ooh, I'm stuck in a wall. But for now I've just left them visible, or left them on, because I thought it might look cool, or at least realistic. So let's talk about the big black thing. I believe I said the next part of the video will be everything boxed in, catwalked, which it is. Again, these corners here will, and these corners here. In fact, that corner, no, not that one. Where's the one I've done? There was one where I did it and it was really neat and tidy. I started doing this one, and that's the evacuation. There'll be a door at the end here. In fact, I think the door will go on this wall. And also, my favourite bit, I'll get back to what I was talking about in a second, this section. Look at this. Ignore these bits. In fact, they shouldn't even be there. I might have to go and fix... it's the spiral. Do you know what? I might just move this wall out a little bit in this section, just because I can't be bothered to move that. So yeah, catwalks and stuff is all done. This here will lead to an evacuation door as well, which will probably come in from somewhere. Maybe down there. There'll be like a little spiral staircase in here as well. I don't know. There might be some hidden bits like this. You could pretend there's all sorts of stairways and walkways and things in there. But yeah, this is all lit up and really cool. The lighting might be a little bit odd here, and I'll show you why. Again, trying to avoid showing off the big black bit. If I come into this section here, this is the transition scene, and this is the lighting that I've gone with for it. Now, I've got an event sequencer glued to the wall here, so you can imagine the mechanic would walk in, come down, and press buttons and stuff here. Ignore the fact that that keypad or whatever it is sticks into the wall. Is there one on this side? No. Okay. Maybe I'll build a plinth for it or something instead. But yeah, that controls this light sequence, or at least it will once the December update has been released. And changes the way the event sequencer works, because I don't want to make it and then have to remake it. Once I've done it once, I'm basically going to copy and paste this entire sequence. I'll have to move the lights, but I'm basically going to use the same sequence on all of the, other transition scenes. So from there, we come around the corner here, and this will probably be in total pitch black. And then we come to the first promised scene of the ride, the Lighthouse of Alexandria, which looks like this. Look at that. This took me not too long, actually, to build. I think I did it all in less than an hour. What it is the market stone pieces. I think they're 1 meter into each other or 2 meters into each other. So I think this is, 6 meters wide, I believe, instead of 8. And then, so I went on Wikipedia to read about the Lighthouse of Alexandria, and it said it was square at the bottom. Then the middle tier was octagonal, which is what we've done here. And then the top tier was cylindrical, which I've kind of achieved. I've used concrete posts here, scaled down to 50%, I think it is. And then put marble on top. I don't know if marble was right or not. It's also the fact there's nothing at the top of this section that might come back and get changed. It's also a separate building, so I actually built it separately over here, then moved it into position. I think it looks kind of cool. And then on top, because again, most of the reference images, it's actually quite small. The top, you can't really see it very well, but there's one at a model village, I think, which I think is in Hungary. I think I've seen videos of it in the past. And on top of it, there was a little figure. So I had a look. It looks like someone holding a torch or something. So I had a look, and there's no one holding a torch. But there is this chap here holding a scroll. So I put him on. And I think it does the job, to be honest. Most people probably won't even look up and see him anyway. Same reason as I was going to put a light in here, actually going round. But I didn't, because, again, I figured no one's actually going to look up and see it. Because you... are down here at this level. So in theory, yeah, you could look up. But are you going to see a light shining down? Probably not. Are you going to make him out in the dark? Probably not. So it didn't really make much sense. One thing I have done, though, is put lights around the room. Now, again, they look quite obvious right now. But when you're on the ride, you won't see them. And if I do my magic trick here and make it night... this is what it looks like when it's actually lit up as a show scene. And I think this is pretty damn cool. I am tempted to change the colour of the lights a little bit. Make them a little more... or a little less white. Maybe go for a warmer light. I'll have to see. But I was going to have some spotlights coming down from the ceiling as well, just to light it up a little bit more. And you'll notice that it's sat in a pool of water here as well. One of the plans I was going to have was to have waves coming in from the sides. Maybe this side here and this side here, and lap up against the rocks. And again, it's not that there's a lack of parts right now. It's just I think I'm going to have to use the event sequencer again, and I want to make sure that I only have to do it once. So I'm going to wait for that. 12th of December. is when update 1 comes out, and there's some pretty cool things in there, including fireworks, which surprised a lot of people actually. I might have to come up with a fireworks show for this park. The amphitheatre over in the Greek section, Odyssey of the Olympians, that could be a good spot for like a Phantasmic style show with fireworks. So tune in for that one when it happens. So yeah, this is the Lighthouse of Alexandria, and just to show you what the transition sequence looks like as well, these will flash in sequence and it'll be on a continuous loop. And I think this especially looks really cool. That works quite nicely. Again, the walls are very visible right now, but I'm hoping once this is all set up and working and there's a roof on top, because there's still some ambient light coming in from you know, the fact that it's open to the elements. But once we've slapped a roof on top, hopefully the walls here will be less visible, or at least will be hidden enough, basically. And because again you're facing this way like this, it probably won't be that bad anyway. Either that, or we just accept the fact that you can see the walls. This looks cool. Actually, this is quite well lit. Huh. I might have to go light up some of my other shops. Let's just have a quick look at what these look like still. These are still quite dark, aren't they? Oh no, these are actually... No, this one's quite well lit now. Maybe you just have to have it at night. This one's relatively well lit. This one's very well lit, actually. I think guest services might still be a bit lacking, though. This definitely needs more. If anyone's added any like clothing racks and stuff to the workshop, do let me know. Yeah, this is actually quite well lit now as well. But I guarantee in daylight it isn't. Let's find out, shall we? This is a complete tangent from what I wanted to talk about. Actually, that's not terrible. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Alrighty. Let's come back out the door. This is starting to come together really nicely. If I zoom out again now, you can see how it's going to look. So first of all, that looks awesome. That looks awesome. Next step is going to be basically taking this light package and applying it to this corridor. Then we're going to do the statue of Zeus. Then we're going to do this corridor. And then it's going to be the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus. I can never say it without thinking I've said it wrong. And even now, I'm not 100%. Have I said it wrong? Mausoleum at Halicarnassus. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what I'm thinking I said wrong there. Anyway, I'm probably, because this video is already going to be late. I'm recording this on Thursday. The video was supposed to go out Friday, but I did say there's no set schedule, so I'm not exactly late in terms of what I've promised. I'm just late in terms of what I'd have liked. So if you're watching this the day it goes live, apologies, it's slightly late, but it's fine. Let me make it daylight again as well, because I'm realizing you might not even be able to see all this properly. There we go. The fact that everything's boxed in now, I feel good about. It is literally just doing the show scenes now, and then this ride is basically done. And I mean this in the nicest way. I want this done quick. I want to move on. I want to get onto the next section of the park. I want to build the river rapids. I want to see where the water park's going to go, because to be honest, the water park, the more I look at it, the more I think the water park is basically all of this area and then up here to where it meets up with the park. Over here I think it is. So the more I was looking at it thinking, oh, this isn't going to fit very well with the map that I've drawn, the more I realised, oh, that's actually fine, because we've got all this space. And I've seen some of the water parks that other people have built, and to be honest, they don't need to be massive, really. The size that we've left is actually fine. It's a small water park that goes alongside a massive theme park. And then, bear in mind, not in this game, but in terms of the lore of the park and the resort, there's a massive zoo over here as well. So there's plenty of things for people to do. So I don't need to panic as much. One final thing. You'll notice that the railway has once again moved once again. It's now in its final position. We've got some good views here. If we start off with the direction that it'll actually be going in. So this is the Colossus of Rhodes, and you can look down and you can see the statue. We then go this way, look to the left. This is the Temple of Artemis, I believe, this room. And again, you can see the vehicles going down, and you'll be able to see the temple in the middle there. come along this way, and this is the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus. Halicarnassus, yeah. Isn't there one as well? Did I say it before? Oh yeah, the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus. I think it's pronounced Ephesus. Otherwise it sounds like feces, which isn't... Ugh, no, less of that. This is the Mausoleum, and it's probably the biggest show scene that you can see from the railway, but it's the second biggest because the pyramid is absolutely massive. And already, I said the big black thing, this is the ceiling height for the lighthouse, and I still think the pyramid might actually be slightly bigger. We'll see. But I would like this to be the roof height of the building. And if you think how much lower the building starts compared to the food court, and yet the roof almost matches, this is a huge build. I hadn't really factored that in when I started building it, just how big this would be. But it is absolutely massive. Massive, massive, massive. And yeah, like I said with the catwalks, I actually tidied it up here and made it look nice. This side, I'm tempted just to put a fence across it because it's digging into this room now. And I've already decided that the Babylon facade is going to cover this section, so it doesn't matter too much. But everywhere else, except for over here, I tried to hide it as much as I could because you don't want stairs and stuff jutting through into the earth. It's just not very realistic for a start. You build things to fit in real life, don't you? You don't go, oh sorry, the piece didn't fit, so I had to jam it through the wall. No, that's not how it works. There's a couple of other little rogue sections down here as well, but it's fine. Anyway, I've talked a lot. So the next time you see me, I think all of this will be done. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. I'm actually away this weekend as well, so I won't even be able to work on it as much unless I somehow get it working on my laptop. But I've only just got my laptop back from a major rebuild, so I don't even know what it's capable of these days. Let's see how far we get. If we end up ending this episode with only a couple more show scenes done, then that's still progress. If we end up finishing everything, that's awesome. What I might do though is just build things separately over here, get a scale as to how they're going to look, and then bring them in. So I might actually show you all of them here, and then slowly bring them in one by one to where they're going to eventually live. Might do that instead, actually. But yeah. I'm also going to place paths around the outside of the building here, set up the evacuation procedures, the doors, all that good stuff. And I might even box in the queue in the show building here as well, just to get that finished. Because technically, this is all done. It just needs maybe some posters on the walls or something, and then we're good. Or at least custom screens. And then eventually we'll snap screenshots of the 7 wonders in their show scenes and put them on those posters once we can add custom images, which I think is coming in the update as well, if it's not in the game already. I can't remember. We'll find out. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll see how much of this we can get done. Alright, after what seems like an eternity, well over a week in fact, it's taken me way too long to record this, and I actually missed the deadline for this episode originally, so apologies for that. But I suppose I did say no deadline for episodes, and then I set myself a deadline, so I was always walking into a trap on that one, wasn't I? Anyway, yeah, it's taken me over a week to build this. I've managed to give myself tendonitis in my elbow, RSI in my wrist, God knows what else. I think I've got square eyes now as well. I've been staring at the screen for so long. But I think we are in a position where we can call this ride basically complete. I've got the game unpaused here just while the ride vehicles go round, although I am conscious of the time at the bottom of the screen there, so the pop-up might come up in a minute. So I'm just going to pause it very quickly. Unpause it only when necessary. That's a good idea, isn't it? Let's do a tour of the ride then. So you've seen the first bit before. Not much has changed. The lighting is all in and things like that. The shape of the building has changed a lot. We'll show you that in a second. But first of all, as you know, we've got the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Between the sections, I did go and add a couple of little trim bits here just to make it look a bit more, well, better, to be honest. I'm still not 100% happy with it. And to be honest, I could actually make this taller now. Make the octagonal bit a little bit taller. Because the rest of the building, as you can see there, does actually go up a little bit higher. So in theory, I could make this bit taller as well. But yeah. We then go into the second transition, which lifts us up ever so slightly. And then we come into what is actually starting to become my favourite room. This one here, which is the statue of Zeus at Olympia. Now, obviously, there is no statue of Zeus in the game. This is the Poseidon statue. And in reality, Zeus was sat down. But here, I've got him sort of using a footrest kind of thing. I think this is good improvisation, to be honest. Because I found some pictures, or artistic impressions, I should say. There were no cameras, obviously, back then. Where Zeus is sat down with his foot on a little footstool. And then there's somewhere he's just sat down with his legs straight. So I found a compromise here because I needed to hide this rock. Because in reality, the legs here are standing on a rock. So the rock is inside the footstool here, which you can still see the rock. But I could probably do a better job of hiding that, to be honest. But imagine he's resting on a footstool. And then he's pointing because I didn't want two fists. And he is meant to be Poseidon here. But of course, he's actually Zeus. Or he's meant to be Zeus, but he's Poseidon because Poseidon's the only one in the game. There's a couple of bits here where you'll notice I'm waiting on more pieces to become available in the game, I think is the nicest way of saying it. Excuse me. But I like this little room. It's the smallest room out of all of them. It's by far the most compact. It's the one that probably took me the less time to build as well. It's just a series of columns here with some cross beams. I could probably have done a better job here as well, to be honest. And then the throne is actually made out of... What are these? These are column lintels. In fact, I think it's the same as these. Yeah, but coloured slightly differently. And then we've got some horizontal ones here for the armrest. This down here is a wall decoration. We've got trim number 4 and the first trim. The seat here itself is solid wall, turned on its side. And then the back here is actually a door. I don't know if I can show you it properly. If I swoop around here, you can see the knockers are there. And then we've put some big curtains at the back. These are the drapes, the double curtains. And then we've got the broken bull disc here. No reason, just other than I thought it would look cool. So we added that in. We've then got a column capital here, plus column here as the footstool, and then just some ruins on the floor. And then the actual base here itself is made out of more solid wall turned horizontal, some ornate signs, some more drapes, the swag ones and the horizontal ones, again some more ornate signs. We've got some wall decorations down here as well, and that's it really, nice and simple. You'll see there's a mix in this ride of show scenes that I really put some effort into to try and make look good, and some where I've not half-assed it, but you know, sort of just improvised. The idea is to come back one day once there's more pieces available and have another pass at it, basically. This one I don't think needs another pass. If they add a Zeus for whatever reason, then I'll come and replace it. Or if they add some sitting down legs, then I'll come and replace those. But otherwise, I think this is a pretty decent looking room. And just to show what it would look like in the actual ride, here. As you can see, a lot of the sort of fragilities of the show scene here are kind of hidden in the dark, and the color here really does pop. I looked up Wikipedia is probably not the best source for a lot of this stuff, but I did look up on Wikipedia what these would have actually looked like back when they were in existence, and it did say that Zeus was made out of like a bronzy brass type metal. So there we go. I used a hex code generator to get something for that, and I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. We then come into the next show scene here, which brings us up to the second highest point of the ride, I think it is. And we come into another pretty good show scene, I'd like to say. This, the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus. Now this is more of a you're outside the building looking at the building kind of thing. This is something else. And I want to say this very carefully because I don't want to upset any historians or anything like that. Actually looking up the 7 wonders of the world makes you realise just how boring they are compared to modern day wonders of the world. These were incredible buildings for their time. They were the largest, they were the strongest, heaviest, you know, most beautifully decorated buildings of their time. But compared to now, the Great Pyramid of Giza still is impressive because of how it was built when it was built. And the fact that it's still standing. None of these other ones are still standing. That's something else to bear in mind. But you'll notice this, and with the Temple of Artemis as well. If you actually go and look them up on Google Images, they're basically identical buildings. So getting this to work was a bit of a challenge. So this one, the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, I've built from the outside looking in. So it is a very plain looking building here. There is some more ornateness up this area here, but I didn't have the pieces, so I've just improvised. And then there is this little sort of temple building outside, which I've just constructed here. That's not in any way, shape or form symmetrical. That doesn't look very nice, but thankfully you don't really see it for very long. But yeah, this is all just sort of slapped together, this little building here. We've got our first little bits of foliage as well. These are real trees. They will be counted as real trees in the law of the park as well. Someone will have to come in and cultivate these, maintain these, look after these. And we got this lovely shape. And yeah, I'm pretty happy. Oh, I just gave away the Temple of Artemis there, if anyone saw that. You'll also notice we've got the railroad up here. The windows do work. You can look in and see it. Although, again, without giving too much away, this is kind of your view. So you're almost just looking at the ride, like a peek behind the curtain, rather than looking at the actual show scene. But yeah, again, I'll show you what it looks like at night. It's basically this, but lit differently. There we are. I don't know if I like the white light. I might actually go and change the colour of the bulbs just to make it look a little nicer. I'll do some investigative work there as well. But yeah, we come into the next transition. This one was a bit of a challenge to build, and I am going to go and remove these supports because it's a bit of a faff. But this actually looks really cool. The way it's all covered up and stuff. I like that a lot. And then yeah, here at the top, we do descend slightly off of the up. Because this is actually the start of the descent. But we come into this room. Now this is the first sort of interactive room, because you do actually pass by this wall piece here. But this is the Temple of Artemis. Now, as I said just now, the Temple of Artemis and the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus are actually very, very, very similar buildings. They both look very, very similar. I probably should get some pictures and actually put them up so you can see, but I'm probably not, because I'm editing this video at like midnight. So chances are I'll forget to do it anyway, so I might as well just not even commit to it right now. This is what the Temple of Artemis looks like. Sorry. Now this one I've gone for, it's already starting to fall apart, mainly to differentiate it from the Mausoleum. So we've gone for a closer view first and foremost. This is based on a single image I found on Google. There are lots of images of it in ruins. There are multiple pictures of it when it was actually standing, and by pictures I mean paintings, not actual photography. And again, I've had to improvise. There were statues of people in these alcoves here, but I've just gone with ornate pottery instead. These plinths here are in no way supported, like that could easily just fall down. And I was tempted to create more ruins here, so like have this piece in the state of falling apart, and you know, have some columns here collapsing and things like that. But I kind of just went with it's starting to fall apart. It hasn't completely fallen apart. And actually, in terms of, sorry, I keep going through the wall. In terms of how it looks here, this is actually pretty similar structure wise to the picture that I used as inspiration. These arches are a lot bigger, because I couldn't scale. Actually, I could scale it down, but I couldn't use the wall pieces scaled down, so I just left it this size. And then we have got some ruins down here, and we've got stairs all around as well, which looks kind of cool. It kind of brings you into it a lot more. And I really do like the fact that when you come through here, and I've checked this on the ride cam, so I know that it does work, your first view of the temple is this, which I think is mightily impressive, if I do say so myself. However, this is where things started to go a little bit wrong for me in terms of actually building these rooms. The first three, I thought I did a pretty good job. And then this one, I don't know, I just felt like I sort of fell off the wagon a little bit. I just felt like it wasn't really working. And another problem I had was the railway here, because again, we've got these view windows, which if you look through, you can't really see anything of the temple apart from this wall. All you can see is the ride vehicles, which is fine. I'm just thinking like the Disneyland Railroad in Paris, at least, when you go through Pirates of the Caribbean, you actually see the boats more than you see the show scenes. I think you see Jack Sparrow in his chair, and that's it. Everything else is basically just, you know, rocks and a boat. That's all you can see. So I kind of went with that as a guide, and I think it's all right. It's not the worst. This is also one of the tallest parts of the building. The actual tallest part is over there, which, yeah, we won't get to just yet, but you'll see it momentarily. Then we come into the biggest transition scene. Now, I did try and bring these walls in. In the end, I just gave up and thought, you know what, this will do. But we will put a roof on it. Oh, I didn't show you what the temple looked like at night. It is basically this, but lit up with a white colour. So you don't need to see that. You don't need to see that. Yeah, transition scene. So this is by far the widest transition scene. Again, I'm not a huge fan of it. I did try and straighten the track a little bit, but it is what it is. We'll put a roof on it. I'm sure it'll be fine. Then we come into another little mini room here. But I think, again, I kind of found my groove again on this one. This is the Colossus of Rhodes. Now, there are multiple different sort of sources as to what the Colossus of Rhodes actually look like. There's one where the guy's basically doing the splits over the entrance to a harbour, which I didn't want to recreate for reasons I'm sure you'll agree are smart. Why would you want a Helios as well, by the way? It's a statue of Helios, who's the Greek god of the sun. Why would you want him doing the splits over a harbour entrance? I have no idea. So I went with a more power stance here. He's got his feet shoulder width apart. He's holding nothing here, but in reality he holds a torch. And again, it's Poseidon, because he's the only one we've got. Now, there was one picture I saw where he's just standing on a single plinth off to the side. So I did try that. But I couldn't find a plinth big enough, and I didn't want to make one. So I went with the splits one. He is going to get castrated when this ship comes through, mind, because, you know, he can't jump. And I don't think they'll be able to turn this sideways. So he's going to have a little bit of an accident in a minute. But I think this is a pretty decent effort, I would say. And again, this is one that could do with a second pass once more pieces become available. But if we look at it at night, it does kind of hide some of it. And again, I kept having to tell myself this ride is based on a World's Fair type attraction, like It's a Small World in its original form. So it doesn't have to be, because I was thinking like, oh, we could put a screen in the background with a projection on it of a town or something like that. We don't actually need that, because this chap here is the centerpiece of this room. I could have just had him standing on a plinth, and that would have been the Colossus of Rhodes. The fact that I've even gone to the length, you know, putting in some water, putting in a boat, things like that. You know, it's kind of, for want of a better expression, pardon the pun, it's pushing the boat out a little bit, adding this sort of thing in here. And I think for what this ride is, this is fine. But for my expectations, I kept having to tell myself, it's fine, it's good, it's not going to look bad, just accept it. And the black walls are kind of, you know, like, is it Kabuki theatre in Japan? Where they come on in black, and that means, you know, they're part of the scenery, ignore them kind of thing. They come in and move chairs around and stuff like that. You just have to ignore the black, basically. Ignore the black walls, ignore the black ceilings, everything that's in black here, ignore it. And then once you do that, it does look a lot better, I'll admit that. And actually the view here from the train is perfect. Look at that. This is the only one where you actually look directly at the show scene, and you don't even see the ride vehicles to start with. It's only when you look over and you're like, oh yeah, look, there's a ride there. So this is good. And in terms of the building, if I make it day again, there we go. This will be an extended tunnel, so that you sort of come through the dark a little bit to get acclimatized, and then you look in and, oh look, there's the Colossus of Rhodes, and then on this side there's the Temple of Artemis, there's the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, and then before you know it, you're out the other side and you're back in the station. I have also extended the staff path round here up to this point. Here it will straighten out that way, and then it will eventually join up with the main path again down there. But yeah, it's all coming together quite nicely here. Brace yourself for this one. I haven't done the transition scene here yet. I will do that. You can see the other ones bleeding in, because actually there's gaps there. And there's one directly beneath us, I think, or just off to the side. Now we come to probably the most underwhelming room of the entire ride. Now, I said the Pyramid of Giza was going to be the biggest show scene. And at the time it was. And this was the one I dreaded doing, because I had absolutely no idea how I was going to build the pyramid, given the type of pieces available. I could use smooth sides by, you know, taking those big wall pieces and turning them at like a 45-degree angle, but then you're left with, how do you do the joins? Or I could do like a Machu Picchu type thing and build them as steps. But then again, that's not really what the Great Pyramid of Giza looked like until I Googled it and realized, oh, actually, yeah, it is like that. So I started building it, got a bit lazy and thought, it's fine, I'll just make a facade and have the wall do the rest. And then I realized the room I was actually placing it in. So this is the Pyramid of Giza. It's fine. Again, as a show scene, it works, you know? And what I kept having to tell myself is, if you Google the Great Pyramid of Giza, even now, December 2024, if you Google the Great Pyramid of Giza, it's one big pyramid, which is this one smaller pyramid here, depending on which angle you look at it from, by the way. If you look at it from the angle that I looked at it from, you've got one small one here, one smaller one just behind it there. You have three small ones, along here, and then absolutely nothing else. There is a Sphinx, which I think is further away than it looks to begin with, but there is a Sphinx, so I could have built the Sphinx, but I was going to build the Sphinx at the Egyptian section. Oh my god, I keep going through the damn walls. In the Egyptian section of the park, I was going to build the Sphinx, as you know if you watched the preview. So in the end, it's just this. It's literally just this huge room, this massive climax, and you come into here and it's just this. And if you look at the sides here, you can see where I didn't even finish it, because at the time I thought, it's fine, I'll embed it into the wall, forgetting the shape of this actual part of the building. If I'd have pulled these out just a little bit further, which I could still do in theory, I could have hidden that. And I even tried to add another pyramid here and one over here to hide it, and it was a car wreck. So this is what this room looks like right now. I tried putting rocks here, and then I went and looked on the images again and realized there are no rocks. It's all sand. The floor here is marble, because despite this game having a mythological theme, and even a Viking theme to an extent might have this, there are no sand blocks, and there's no, I don't even think there's sand terrain, is there? There's compact dirt, which is maybe sand, like coloured. But yeah, had to sort of, I'm probably being hypercritical here, and there's probably people looking at this thinking, crikey, that's a good looking pyramid. But in all honesty, this is my least favourite room of the ride. And even the lighting here is a bit off. But once the ceiling is in, I'll hang some lights from it and it'll look better. Problem is, this room is vast. So without putting lights where you can actually see them, the only other place I can put them is above. And even then, the light might not actually reach. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. But from the worst to arguably the best, we come up the spiral here, and I had to recruit some help on this one again, which I'll talk about in a second. Ignore that as well, there will be a wall piece across here. But we come into the climax of the ride, the show scene that everyone will be talking about when they get off and go through the gift shop, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. Now this is based on, again, not a photograph, but a picture that I found on Google. There is some improvisation here, I'm sure you can see for yourselves. If you search for Hanging Gardens of Babylon, go on Google Images, I think it's the third row down, left hand side, is the one I used as inspiration. And genuinely, this makes it all worth it. I did have some issues here when I was placing trees. Some things kept floating, and because of the camera angle, trying not to go through the wall, I asked my girlfriend to help me place plants, and we both struggled to get them not to float. So if you do see some floating trees and bushes and things, just look past them a little bit, because it was a camera angle issue rather than a player issue. But yeah, this is the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Again, real plants. Something that I've added here is these, which are actual walkways that people will use to access the plants to actually water them. So you can see this level especially, you can access the entire thing. The upper level here, you can only access up to here. You'd have to come through the other side. Where is that actually? I don't even know. There'll be some sort of walkway. I had it in my head as well that you could offer, you know, like you do behind the scenes of coasters and things like that. This would be a behind the scenes of the wonders of the world, and part of it is you get to walk along the gardener walkways, as I'm going to call them. The other thing you'll notice, we have waterfalls. If I unpause the game, we have actual waterfalls. Now, I don't like these pieces. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that now. I don't know how a better way to implement this would be, but I don't like the fact that you have to have a waterfall top piece and then a waterfall middle piece and then a waterfall bottom piece. I get that having a waterfall scenery item interact with a fountain scenery item is not the easiest thing, but the fact that these are very visible things, you can see it there. I can't click on it right now, but I assure you, in fact, yeah, selected part, it's there. I don't even think I can change that, which is even more annoying. The fact that that's a piece that you have to place, and you can't just have this go down, and if it hits any object, it creates a splash, is a bit dumb. Also, the fact that this is the middle piece here that comes down, because the top piece I placed here first, and it ends here, like the water just disappears. And then you've got to try and find somewhere to place the middle piece, floating in midair at this point, by the way, so that it creates the illusion that you're looking for. It doesn't work. It does not work. But that's it. That's the wonders of the world. After this scene, you go down through the little slalom there, through the doorway, and that's it. The ride is over. I will show you this scene at night as well. I have placed the lighting, although a bit like the pyramid room, I think we're going to need some lighting on the ceiling still. And we're also going to need maybe some stronger lighting elsewhere, although that's actually pretty good. I think that kind of works quite nicely, actually. This is my first time seeing it in this light, so I'm reacting with you guys. I'm quite happy with that. Very, very happy. I also spent quite a long time trying to look up a decent hex code for a bronze color to make these pillars out of, and I still haven't got it anything like the picture that I was using as inspiration, but I got it where it looked striking enough. I think Babylon is in modern day Iraq, I want to say. So the architecture here is very different to some of the other rooms because they're more of a Greek, Turkish, Cyprus area, I believe. I think the statue of Zeus is on Crete, saying that now. So I think Crete is where Olympus is. Although I'm probably getting that very wrong as well. This is Iraq, as we know. The pyramid is in Egypt, but there's no columns or anything there. It's just one big building. Colossus of Rhodes. Where was that? I'm trying to remember where Rhodes is. I think that's in Greece as well. So there's lots of different architectural styles. And I think overall, we've made a pretty decent ride here. This is by far the best scene. And this is why I wanted to leave it till last, because I thought this would be spectacular. When I looked up the images and saw what the Hanging Gardens of Babylon might have looked like, I was like, yep, that's the climax right there. That's the final scene. And maybe the rest of the ride, especially the pyramid, sort of lulls you into a false sense of security. And then you emerge in this room and it's just bang, look at this, awesome kind of thing. One other thing I wanted to say as well, I was waiting for some vehicles to come past. I was actually not doing it now, which is kind of annoying. One thing I'd noticed, and this got confirmed on Facebook and Reddit. So I made a point earlier of saying these vehicles are spreading themselves apart, aren't they? And it turns out, yes, that's actually what they do. They spread themselves out evenly to fill up the whole track. Why the game does it like that, I don't know, but it does. And I guess that's fine. Kind of makes it work. So, yes. It would be nice still if we could have more vehicles on this ride, if that's something that Frontier could add in future. Particularly as they've removed the guest limit now. Which I don't think I can actually change yet, because I think that's in the update that's not yet been released. But when we can, I will do that. But yeah, this is the wonders of the world. It is a huge building, as you can see. Each show scene is massive, apart from Zeus and Colossus. They're quite small. The pyramid is way too big. Like, the room is way too big for what was actually in here. Yeah, even here you can see like the distance between the track and the actual building is stupid. I want to rebuild this at some point. I'm going to remove... So each show scene is a separate building placed in here. So I'm probably just going to tweak this out between episodes, completely redo it, bring it back in. And speaking of between episodes, I'm also going to finish the transition sequences between episodes and also place the roof on, which I'm tempted to make the roof a separate piece as well, separate building, just so if I need to get in here for whatever reason, I can just click the roof, lift it up, and then I've got access. That would be good, particularly if I'm working on show scenes, if they introduce new scenery pieces, things like that. Also to hide things like this maybe one day in the future, because that's ugly. Don't like being able to see that. But overall, I'm happy. I think in terms of what I built in Planet Coaster 1, this is the best thing I've built so far in my Planet Coaster career. Hopefully you guys agree. Can't wait to actually make a video of a POV of this and show it off. I was going to add it to the end of this episode, but I'm actually going to make it its own video now, just to show it off properly. Hopefully this ride gets the views that it deserves. Again, there are bits that I'm not a huge fan of. I think some show scenes are better than others, but overall, I've had a blast building this, and hopefully you've had a blast watching me build it. Just realised that that tree there is going to get clonked by the roof when it goes on, so I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller. I think I might have to drop it down into the ground a little bit more, and yeah, I think that's fine. Awesome. One last thing to do then. This ride needs to be open. We need to get some people on board. I wanted to wait until everything was finished before hitting green, but the more I look at it, testing incomplete, so I have to wait for it anyway. That's a shame. I was going to open it on camera, but I'll open it between episodes as well, I suppose. What I was going to say was I wanted to get it open and actually get people queuing for it and get people on board. But yeah, turns out there's a lot of work needs doing still. I was tempted still to theme this, but I think I am just going to leave it as it is. Put some lights in, obviously. Like, light it up. You're not going to be queuing in the dark. That would be a bit mean. But overall, that's it. The wonders of the world are complete. And I'm wondering how it took me a week to build this, but there we go. Once it's all done and the roof's on and everything like that, it will look really, really good. But for now, we can finally say that we have completed the Plaza of the Globe. The entrance to the park is complete. The game has been out now for a month, and we're finally moving on to our proper first themed area. I was wondering where all the guests are going. They're actually leaving, aren't they? Because it's home time. Let's pause again quickly. We're going to be moving on to our first themed area next time out, which is the Soul of the Amazon, which is going to be built in this area over here. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you're enjoying the series, and of course if you're enjoying the dark ride here. Like I said, big project for me, quite a difference to what I'm usually doing in this sort of game. So if you enjoyed it, let me know by hitting the like button, and also drop some comments down below. Let me know what you think of the ride. Let me know what you think of the park. Any ideas you've got for future episodes. If you've got any ideas for how to make these show scenes better as well, feel free to let me know. It's always appreciated. Besides that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you for your continued support. It's very much appreciated. And if you'd like to support the channel in other ways, the links to my Patreon and YouTube membership are in the description down below as well. Much appreciated. Thanks in advance. Besides that, enjoy the rest of your evening, and until next time, I will see you soon.